There are levels to knowing yourself because you are a multi-dimensional being. You are a being that exists in the physical, in the emotional, in the mental, and the spiritual realms. I've been studying psychology and philosophy for over 6 years now, and that's led me through a path of meditation, spiritual discipline, self reflection, reading just all different kinds of books, looking into holistic healing. And so through my journey, I've recognized a simplified way of understanding what it means to know yourself. But in this video, we're going to be going a lot more in depth. What my plan for this video is for you to walk out and understand where you are at in your journey relative to other people, and also understand what it means to get to know yourself. When people say that, what are they really talking about? And what does that mean at the deep and spiritual level? This is about creating something applicable for your life so that you can go out there and kill it not only in the outside world, but also in the inside world. Because these two worlds are the ones that we came here to create with. There are different ways of knowing yourself, and I've broken down the process in a basic 1-2 phase. And this is a little oversimplified, but it is important because it talks about the journey that we go through as human beings as we progress through our lives. So let's begin on the lesson. So the first stage of getting to know yourself involves getting to know your personality. And your personality self is something that the concept for the personality self is something that I got from Alice Bailey's Esoteric Psychology, which is, I believe, the most advanced perspective on psychology to date. And Alice Bailey outlines the personality as the exterior self. It's the one that we are generally embodying. We are usually driven by the desires of the personality. This involves the animal self and also the ego, which is the term that people usually use for the word ego. It could be interchanged for personality. And the personality self is what we often think of when people say get to know yourself. You know, as an individual, you exist isolated as a personality. You have a unique personality that nobody else can take away from you. And it's a personality that can also be developed. So, when speaking about the personality self, I want you to think about the mask or the identity that you use to navigate the outside world. It is very dependent or very connected to the outside world, whether it be money, fame, success, but also anything when it comes to relationship or connection or business, career, etc. The personality self is very much going to be influencing how well you're able to succeed in these different areas of life. And for the most part, and what we see commonly in the world, is we see a huge tendency to focus on the personality self. This is not bad, or it can be negative, but that's something that I'll go into in the future. But the general consensus is that success means succeeding as the personality self. That's the definition that we use in our culture often, and it's the one that a lot of people are guided by. So one thing to know is that there's two stages. There's an exterior progression, and then there's an interior progression. The thing that I want to emphasize here for you is to understand that the personality self is essential. You cannot even get to evolve to the next phase until you develop and master your personality self. But as Jim Carrey has said, he said in one of his speeches that he wishes that everybody were to get rich and famous only to find out that that wasn't the point.
I've often said that I wished people could realize all their dreams and wealth and fame, and so that they could see that it's not where you're going to find your sense of completion.
That's the lesson that you learn once you master the personality. You don't have to go and achieve these material successes to develop the personality, although they are very much in that line of progression. If you go the material route, and develop and focus on succeeding, whether it be in wealth, relationships, career, etc. Through the years, usually in the midlife, you gain a shift in perspective and you want to help people out. You've established yourself as an individual and you've been able to derive a lot of value from the exterior world and you filled your cup. So once you have your cup full, you have the desire to go out and be of service to people, whether that be a spiritual thing or just a more internal thing. And that's usually the natural progression of people. And I think that this is kind of where the majority of people nowadays, that's how they evolve. It's more of a very exterior emphasized progression. And the way I developed my personality self was through also implementing some self reflection. Self reflection will be the key to evolving you and evolving your personality. Because well, you get to know the personality as it is. You can detach and observe and then implement. Speaking on that, let's talk about the techniques for getting to know the personality self. Now that we got there, getting to know yourself as a personality is very much close to getting to know yourself through self help. Once you get to a specific level of learning and educating yourself through self help, you eventually get to psychology. And you start using psychology to understand who you are, understand how the world works, and it keeps evolving. Philosophy, and then you get to spirituality, which is the ultimate form of self development. Because once you start getting into spirituality, you start getting to look into the soul. So, the things that helped me out in my journey when it came to developing the personality were definitely reading self help or self development books. The next thing that I would emphasize is a focus on psychology and philosophy. If you haven't explored it, you have to. I believe it's a requisite because if you don't do it, you're missing out on all of the knowledge of the mind and you're not developing your mind, you're not developing your idea, your ability to think, your ability to ideate, and that's kind of guiding you towards that because philosophers talk about the power of the mind, the ability to detach. All of these lessons that they present are lessons that you can incorporate that will help you in using your personality as a weapon to your purpose. And speaking on purpose, that's technique number 3, which is looking for your soul purpose. This can be a little confusing, and I will get into this in the future. But when I began looking for my soul purpose, it was the beginning of me understanding my personality. I was taking personality tests, which is another thing that I would recommend. But I was also taking astrology and numerology assessments. I used astrology and numerology very heavily when I was learning about my personality and my soul purpose. And I found a lot of synchronicities and a lot of things that just resonated with me that allowed me to cut the things off that weren't really me. So I kept the things that stuck with me. Those things that stuck with me pushed me further and further into being able to navigate the world with confidence, self-awareness, and clarity. And once that happened, things just skyrocketed. So definitely use astrology, look into numerology and astrology. And also, of course, look into your personality. If you want to study a personality, take personality tests. These tests come from psychologists that have studied the inner realms and have presented something that can work as a navigation system. One thing to remember is to not take these assessments as final. Astrology and numerology, they are great guideposts, but your soul will be the main one that will help you figure it out and organize it. And as you get deeper and deeper into astrology, you realize that it's not so much a science, but it's an interpretive approach. It's about interpretation, just as dream interpretation is. Interpreting dreams can never be measured in a scientific way because it's all abstract. It's all about meaning. It's all about depth. Versus science is more about what can be observed. You cannot observe internal states or you cannot measure internal states. All the instruments that people use to measure in science are not the instruments that we use to understand the self and the internal world. So just know that as you're looking into these things, things will things will progress into something deeper. So when you're looking into astrology, You can read the astrology from the personality standpoint, and you can also read astrology through the soul standpoint, and that's something that we will talk about more. The next practice is going to be self-reflection. You need self-reflection. You need to do it. You need to have some practice, whether it be journaling or visualization or self-inquiry. Literally just sitting and thinking, talking to yourself. Those practices are essential to getting to know the personality, because you're able to see the various aspects of the self, of the personality, the components that make it up, the world within you. And as you start to get more of a grip on this world, you can start to navigate more harmoniously, because you are developing a connection, a stronger connection with yourself through self-reflection. And the next thing will be meditation. And meditation can be seen as a self reflective practice, and it can be used as that. But meditation overall, however you use it, is a discipline. It needs to be something that you incorporate in your life on a daily basis, whether it be a few minutes to 10 minutes to 15 to 30, an hour. It doesn't matter, as long as you have a form of meditation in your life, because that will teach you how to observe. It will teach you how to detach, and it will teach you to be in the moment. And when you are able to do that, you build a more healthy emotional intelligence and a healthier sense of being overall. And the last thing, which I will say as a technique or thing that you should practice, is socialize. You have to socialize. You have to go out and interact with the world. You have to speak your mind. You have to express yourself. If you don't do this, you have to express the personality. If you don't do this, you have no way of isolating the personality and really seeing who you are compared to other people. One of the things that I love to do is social dance. I think social dancing is something that everybody should do. If you're not doing it, try it out. Learn to dance, learn to move, learn to speak to people, learn to connect with people, because that's what dancing will teach you. As you get into it, you will be able to socialize, connect with people all over the world, in your city, wherever, and you always have a community to go to. And it's one of the best ways to also get to know yourself, because when you're dancing, you're expressing yourself, you're vulnerable, you're naked. And when that happens, you have the opportunity to see who you are. You see your goofiness, the little quirks, the way you like to lead, the way you like to follow. All those things are great to help you develop your personality. And now we're going to go into how to get to know your soul, because after a while, you are able to connect with your personality. You have mastered the material world in a sense, let's say 80%, where you know that you can take on any challenge and you can succeed. When you have a developed personality, you understand who you are, you have a great sense of confidence, and you know that you can succeed in anything that you want to do. It's just a matter of time whether it happens or not. It doesn't become a matter of whether you can succeed, it's a matter of whether you should succeed. Can I go up to that person and tell them how I feel? Yes, but do I need to? Should I do it? What do they bring to the table? That's when the shift happens. When you stop asking whether you're able to succeed in the outside world, and you start thinking about how the outside world can affect you internally, that's when you start to see the soul. You start to think about things that are deeper, more fulfilling, the why behind the desire. We are all connected to our souls. And so when I'm talking about the soul self, I need to clarify what that is. The soul self is what is commonly expressed as the higher self. It is the self that exists outside this time and is not of this reality. It is the reality that precedes the material reality. It's the reality that precedes the personality reality. So the soul gave birth to the personality. And when we're talking about going deep and expressing oneself truthfully, then we're talking about digging deeper into source. As you get closer to source, you get closer to your authenticity. And the qualities of the soul are qualities that enhance the self. When you start to get to know your soul, You start to get to know a deeper self, a self that can feel more, that can think deeper, and that can express themselves creatively and freely. Being connected to the soul is like being inspired on the daily, living as inspiration. And some of the benefits that you receive once you get to know your soul include having a deeper purpose, achieving an ability to be compassionate, great creativity because you just love to deconstruct things and create things because that's what we are. When you're a soul, you recognize that you are a creator. You get healing abilities because the soul has a healing effect. It raises the frequencies of things. The fifth thing is vision. When you are connected to your soul, you get to derive a vision from it. You get to download a vision of the vision that is for you, only for you. The vision that includes your life purpose and the future of your world and the future of this world and how you fall into the plan of the universe. And then the sixth thing will be psychic abilities. Psychic abilities are still something that I am not focusing on, but I can tell you that my psychic senses have enhanced as I got deeper into my soul. So that means being able to read people, being able to feel people, being able to see past illusion, the Maya, and that clairvoyance, clairaudience, all of that is there. So all these things are meant for you to move through life with clarity, power, and peace. When you get these things, that means you are very close to your soul. And one thing that I want to highlight about the soul is that when compared to the personality self, the personality self is concerned about how they can achieve in this world. What can they take from this world? The soul self does not care for this world in the sense that I need something. I need to be successful. I need to make money. I need to get that girl. The soul does not care for that. The soul cares for how can I serve the world better? What resources or things can I use to help spread more love, more joy, and more of myself? How can I expand and evolve? Those are the questions of the soul. Those are the questions that a person who's tuned into her soul are guided by and are constantly tuned into. So techniques for knowing your soul. When it comes to knowing yourself at the soul level, it's similar to the outside world, but it's energy directed inwards towards the higher self or the soul. It's pretty much the same thing as the personality self, where I'm telling you, follow your authenticity, figure out who you are internally, what makes you unique. But it has brought it up another rung. It's another level. It's another playing field. Service becomes important. So you need to figure out how you can serve the world and serve the world in the way that only you can do it. And that within itself, when you're in the service, when you're in the act of giving of yourself, that helps you evolve and that helps you tune into more of yourself. It's a positive feedback loop. Again, meditation is essential. This is where you cannot access your soul, I believe, in my experience, without meditation. It just your mind and your body have to be developed to a specific degree in order for you to receive the soul's words, the soul's inspiration. You cannot develop your mind and body to that specific degree until you have incorporated meditation into your life and made it into a spiritual discipline that is habit. When you are talking about the soul, these disciplines are just habits and you are not so much concerned about how can I discipline myself. That was a problem with the personality self. The personality self was about learning how to discipline yourself. How can I create positive habits? How can I eat healthy? How can I be healthy? But once you get to the soul, you have developed yourself to a degree where those things, habits, are already are already a part of you. You don't have to think about to eat healthy. You don't have to think about going to the gym. You don't have to think about having to meditate, because you understand that they are essential to your living, and you just feel better when you do them, and you feel like shit when you don't. So if you're not meditating, I couldn't say that you're at a high level of soul expression. The next thing is healing. If you get into the service of healing, you will evolve tremendously. In the years or the time that I have put into healing, being a holistic healer, have shown me many things about myself and have allowed me to tune into my soul in a different way. But in discovering these new ways, I've actually been able to carry them over to my daily life, and they've transformed my life. For example, when I learned to heal, I recognized the power that my hands have, the power that my intuition has, and during my healing, I saw that healing is really the process of letting your soul overtake and come in and work things out, harmonize things. And when I saw that work and heal people with chronic diseases for over X amount of years, when I saw that happen, I saw that life is the same thing. You have to learn to let the soul come in and express itself and harmonize things. And then the next technique that I will say would be, it's not so much a technique, but all these are more so practices. It would be study. You have to study, you have to be reading. This is the way I see it. And this is an approach that I take, because I know that with my wife it's completely different, and she's able to access her soul through just surrendering. But this is more so a masculine approach. And so with that explained, studying is essential. You have to be reading, you have to be exploring, you have to be taking different perspectives, all so that you can continue to get to understand the universe and understand how everything works, so that you can use the universe as a tool for soul expression. It's all about inversing the relationship. First, as a personality, you wanted to get to know yourself, to understand the universe, and be of function to it. But once you get to know your soul, you flip it over and you want to understand the universe to see how it can be of function to you. And that is a completely different game. So this is my personal experience, and these are all the things that I've learned that have helped me connect to my soul. And the main thing that I want you to take away is that there are two phases to getting to know yourself: the personality and the soul, the exterior and the interior. And there's a progression here that must be followed. And as you progress, there are three things that I just always will say: meditate, self reflect, and contemplate. They're inherent in the process, in knowing yourself, and they are essential for your progression. So if you want to learn more about these practices, make sure to click right here, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.